Hey, it's Don Skaggs again with Empowered Inventing, the one place where we try to help you help others by taking innovation and great ideas and turning them into real things like products and businesses. Products and businesses that make money, by the way. I want to talk to you today about how to fail without being a failure. Because I think a lot of times we get those two things just sort of mixed up. Now, of all people, Peter Gabriel, if you know who he is, said that creativity comes from the freedom to fail. Now, I've been blessed in my career to have had several really great successes in business and in life. And also, right along with those successes, I've had some pretty spectacular failures. And, you know, when you focus on those failures, a lot of times you can just see yourself as a failure. And I think that's where a lot of inventors and entrepreneurs really get messed up. I think it's where they get a lot of them get discouraged and a lot of them just wander off. So I want to talk to you today about the difference between failing and being a failure. We've all been there. Sometimes it's something minor, some kind of minor setback, and we think, oh, okay, well, it didn't really kind of work out the way we thought going this way. Let's see if we can pivot. Let's make our turn our lemons into lemonade, and let's move on. Sometimes it's a major train wreck. It is everything that you've been doing, all the motion you've been going, every green light you've gone through is now suddenly just completely collapsed around you. And that happens. That happens to successful people, and you can look through history and see a lot of really good successful people that has happened to, and a lot of times that happened to just before they came to a major breakthrough, by the way. And there is story after story and biography after biography I could cite about that. So keep that in mind. The important thing is that we've all been there. And I've got several pointers for you, and the first one is this. And it's real simple, but it's very profound, and that is don't give up. You've got to have that diligence of getting back up after you fall down. Because all you have to do is get up one more time than you fall down, and you reach success. Okay, so you fell down. You turned right when you should have turned left. You made a bad choice. We've all been there. But the important thing to remember is that failure is not final until you decide that it is. Another thing I want to tell you is to not set yourself up for unrecoverable failure. And a lot of inventors and entrepreneurs do that. You go all in, you're at the casino table, and you are just taking that old pile of money of yours, and you're just putting it all in on something that you have not vetted yet. And I've seen that a lot with especially, inventors and entrepreneurs that aren't using a good system plan. They've not gained that wisdom first. They've not learned from other people who've made mistakes like that. And they go all in and then they lose it all. Because they're betting everything on something that they do not know yet. They don't have a good feeling yet on the risk. Because business is about risk, and yes, you are going to take risks, but don't take a risk that you cannot recover from. Ask yourself one question when you're making a decision. Is this going to kill me? Is this going to kill my business? My trying to come up with an idea and turn it into a product or a licensing agreement? Is this going to kill this? Is this going to kill the business if we take this risk? Or is this something I can survive and pivot and move on from? Figure out something that I call a failure budget. Somebody said one time that they weren't really successful. They were just standing on top of a pile of failures that they survived. So the failure has to be survivable. So figure out what your failure budget is. Expect to fail. Expect that failures are going to happen. But just know that, okay, I have to spend this much failing to know what's not going to work in order to find out what does work. Thomas Edison said it best. He says, I have not failed. I have discovered 10,000 ways it will not work. He was trying to invent the light bulb. until he came across what really worked. So it's a great quote, if it's something you need, you probably ought to put it up on your wall. Another thing is to look to others who have had failures but have ultimately succeeded. Great example of that, Steve Jobs. At 30 years old, he was booted out of his company, just felt like a failure, and just was devastated. But he overcame that. He eventually came back, turned Apple around to become what we know that it is today. Another great example is Colonel Sanders. And a lot of people don't know this, especially even people right here in Kentucky don't realize the Colonel Sanders story. Colonel Sanders was a high school dropout. He faced hardship after hardship. He had failed businesses, one right after another. He tried a lot of different things. He was fired from a dozen jobs before starting his first restaurant. That restaurant failed. It went out of business. And at 65 years old, he was going around trying to sell this recipe for this chicken he'd come up with. Just driving from restaurant to restaurant. He drove to over 1,000 restaurants, going from place to place, pleading with the owners to use his recipe. And that's what started Kentucky Fried Chicken. Again, what we know today. We always see the end result of these successes. We don't see what these people have been going through, these failures that they had to plow through first. Sometimes failure is just a road sign telling us to turn left here. And we have to watch. Those failures teach us things. If we use it as a failure to just throw up our arms and say, forget it, this is just too hard, then we will never know what it could have been. If we instead see it as a teacher saying, oh, okay, this doesn't work, but I'll bet this does. Let me try this one. And if that's even a failure, I'll learn from that one until I can get to what I understand will really work. So just remember this. Pick up the good and put it in your pocket. Leave the bad on the ground and move on. And just remember there's going to be a lot of broken pieces that you're going to walk away from. But that's okay, as long as you keep walking. I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing. I hope this is helpful. If you're watching me on YouTube, be sure and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We have new videos coming out all the time. And I hope this helps you move forward. And check out our website, empoweredinventing.com, and I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, class, or on the next video.